First of all, what is my motive? Let's start there and say he's got a motive.
You know what I think your motive is?
Yeah.
I don't think you like minorities, Glenn. I can get your apartment manager to testify to that. The neighbor that put up security cameras on her porch because she swears you don't like Hispanic people would testify to that.
Harassment can be a one-off event, but when it becomes a repeated action, it tends to escalate instead of abate. Violence becomes a real possibility. This is why victims of stalking need to react to the harassment as soon as possible. This goes double for victims who live in close proximity to the harasser. When it comes to neighbors, the end goal of repeated bouts of harassment is typically to force the victim to move away. Some victims refuse to move away, instead going to great lengths to avoid the harassing person. But this typically just makes the harasser more upset and could lead to a situation that includes death, as occurred with George Treppel, a genius chemist who killed his neighbor with poison and almost got away with it. The current case is not one of a genius chemist, but a much more down-to-earth subject. Yet this subject has one defining feature. Despite the mountain of evidence against him, he stubbornly denies everything. For the interviewing detective, this is definitely one of the most frustrating interrogations.
Have a lawyer present to advise you prior to and during any questioning. If you are unable to employ a lawyer, you have the right to have a lawyer appointed to advise you prior to and during any questioning. And you have the right to terminate the interview at any time. Do you understand? Okay. Let me first explain what we've done today, and then I can start asking and or answering any questions you have, okay? Today we executed an arrest warrant. You were placed under arrest off a warrant that I presented to a judge. The offense is for stalking. In conjunction with the arrest warrant, we also served a search warrant for your apartment. So after you were arrested and brought here, we executed the search warrant at your apartment. A copy of what we took out of your apartment and a copy of the warrant have been left inside of your apartment. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Fire away. I'll answer anything you got.
So, what is stalking?
In the state of Texas, where this case occurred, stalking is a felony and can land a person in jail for up to 10 years. Compare this to harassment, which is a misdemeanor with a prison term of up to 1 year. The key legal difference between stalking and harassment is simple. Stalking is simply repeated instances of harassment aimed at the same person. In this case, our suspect, Glenn Halfin, has been arrested on stalking charges aimed at his neighbor who lives upstairs, Dante Petty. We should note that Dante and his wife are black and have recently given birth to a baby. These facts will become important shortly.
I mean, who am I supposed to be stalking?
Okay. This is all has arisen out of tensions that you've had with your upstairs neighbor, Dante.
Now, when have I had tensions with him other than going to the management and saying that I believe they're dumping urine down? Well, I used to have an American flag up there, but they...
Let me...
And most recently, they're dumping dog poop. And I went to the apartment management and asked them if they could talk to him about...
You were a fire investigator for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, 10 years.
Okay.
Halfin is a retired firefighter, EMT, and arson inspector. As someone with ties to law enforcement, he's likely well aware of the dangers of foregoing his Miranda rights to speak with the police. However, as we will see in many cases with the suspect being legally savvy, overconfidence and a sense of camaraderie with the police often lands the suspect into a position that gives more risk than reward. Sometimes it works out, but usually it doesn't.
There's definitely more to your relationship with Dante than you going to the apartment manager. For me to have a judge of record sign off on my probable cause to both arrest you and search your apartment, we both need to acknowledge that I had to have had some sort of probable cause, okay?
Yeah.
For us to sit here and have a conversation related to the position you're in, it's going to, in my opinion, require some honesty on your part on what your participation has been in this relationship, okay? There's more to your actions involving Dante than going to the apartment management. There's no other way I can put that.
So,
until you acknowledge some of your behavior, I'm not going to sit here and say this is what I got and this is what you did if you're not going to acknowledge anything. You get where I'm going? You understand what I'm saying to you?
I'm not real sure, because I have had previous conversations with, his name's Dante.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when they first moved in, I noticed a badge laying out on the brick wall, which I picked up, and the next time I saw him, I said, I believe this is yours. And so is that considered some sort of harassment or stalking?
No, it's more than that. Since October, Dante's had what I would consider 3 major incidents take place, okay? Started with a noose that was tied and thrown up on his balcony. Then it went to a baby doll with a noose tied around its neck thrown under his car. And it kind of concluded this Tuesday night with a baby doll with a noose tied around its neck.
So what is, I don't understand what that has to do with me.
The fact that I arrested you and searched your apartment should tell you that I think you're the one who's done it. And on top of thinking that, I have evidence to support that you are the one responsible for doing that.
As many listeners will correctly assume, the detective's evidence is not enough for an easy conviction. The evidence, which we'll hear about in a minute, is mostly circumstantial. And while most juries, upon hearing the evidence, would agree that Halfin is guilty of the crime of which he's being accused, there's still too much reasonable doubt for the police to leave to a trial. The detective wants a confession. And if you ever find yourself in a situation in which the police claim to have all the evidence they need against you, yet still incessantly probe you for answers, it most likely means they actually don't have enough evidence to convict. The fact that they are talking to you means that you're in a better position than they would like you to be.
But again, I'm not in a position where I'm going to sit here and spell all my evidence out. If you want to sit back and be like, look, let's talk, but if you're not going to even acknowledge anything beyond a cordial verbal conversation with them, then I don't know how productive us speaking to one another is going to be.
Well, okay.
So it kind of boils down to how much you really want to talk about this.
Well, I mean, you're the one that started this off. I don't have anything other than I want to tell you. I mean, there's nothing going on. I mean,
you denied doing anything derogatory, racist, threatening to him whatsoever. You deny any involvement in any of it.
Yes, I do.
The other night when Sergeant Chimwell came to your apartment after the baby doll,
in the middle of the night, woke me up.
My understanding was
asking me about what this baby doll was doing out there, if I'd seen anything.
And he showed you the doll?
Yeah.
And you had never seen that doll?
No.
Okay. So when I were to tell you that I have you on video at Walmart purchasing a doll that is identical to the one we have in evidence, and I know it was you, and I had video of you doing it, I took pictures of the clothes you wore while you were doing it while I was in your apartment. That's some of what I mean by I have evidence that your involvement is more than just I had a conversation with the guy.
Sorry.
The detective drops a bomb by letting Halfin know that they have video evidence of Halfin purchasing the doll. Halfin should be at least a little surprised, because this was not easy evidence to come by. The doll that was found tied to the noose had its tag cut off, so the detectives could not easily pinpoint the brand of the doll nor its place of purchase. Only after the detective went to many stores around Halfin's residence was he able to find the likely purchase spot, which was a Walmart. Walmart has thousands of transactions per day, and the detective had to dig through each transaction until he could find the doll having been purchased, and it's not a popular doll to buy, by the way. He smartly began searching through transactions made on the day Dante found the doll, which was exactly the transaction he was looking for. Ultimately, once the detective located that transaction, he checked the corresponding CCTV footage to see Halfin making the purchase. Notably, this also means that Halfin bought the doll for the explicit purpose of using it to harass Dante. It wasn't like he had a doll lying around his house and he came up with the idea to use it as a harassment prop. He actually left his house to obtain a tool of harassment and cut the tag off to cover his tracks. Upon dropping such evidence upon Halfin, the detective is likely looking for changes in Halfin's body language. Halfin yet remains extremely still. The man is reportedly in rather poor physical health, and he likely knows that the police are looking for nonverbal communication cues of guilt. Both factors probably are contributing to his apparent lack of physical response to learning being captured on film, and ultimately this works in Halfin's favor.
So that wasn't you buying that exact same doll on the 19th with a gift card?
No.
At a self-checkout stand?
No.
So if I could show you the picture of you buying the doll on the 19th at the Walmart in Grapevine.
Please do.
Here,
But I still don't see what that has anything to do with me.
And that shirt was in your closet.
Yeah.
And I have the video of you swiping the doll. The exact same doll, Glenn.
It probably seems quite silly to imagine looking at a picture of yourself, wearing your own clothes, purchasing an item that was found near your house, and denying that it's you. And in the real world, such a denial really is quite silly, and only exposes you as a liar. However, a police interrogation room exists in a dimension outside the real world, and Halfin's physical motion of denying the reality captured in that CCTV screen capture is the right move. The picture does show a man of Halfin's build, wearing clothes that match those found in Halfin's closet, purchasing a doll at the Walmart near Halfin's house. Yet, it does not prove anything. It's merely circumstantial evidence. More honest suspects and less legally savvy suspects would feel pushed into a corner upon seeing such a picture, admitting that, yes, that's me in the picture. And those suspects would have given the prosecution the gift of assurance of the suspect's physical location at a specific time, which is infinitely more useful than a grainy CCTV image. So, while Halfin's stubbornness might be infuriating to observers and the interrogating detectives, it is actually one of Halfin's most important tools for preserving his own freedom.
Let me go a step further. The rope that you used to tie the doll up was in a box in your spare bedroom. Furthermore, the gift card that you used to make these purchases was in your wallet in your master bedroom. I'm not in the business of picking on people. I'm sure as heck not in the business of making stuff up. You know dang well what I get paid to do. Right?
But I don't see where that has anything to do with me. Is it against the law?
On the surface, it might seem as though Halfin is speaking off the cuff. However, his long pause here before deciding what to say shows that he's actually quite calculating in his speech. He might have been considering saying, "Is it against the law to buy a doll?" but then realized that the police have no hard evidence connecting him to the doll. So instead, he only gives up what he knows the police already have, such as his possession of a rope and a gift card.
To have rope in your bedroom or use a gift card to purchase things? I mean, you're over my head here. How does that relate to a doll on a noose outside, how does that relate to me?
Okay.
First of all, what is my motive? Let's start there and say, he's got a motive.
You know what I think your motive is?
Yeah.
I don't think you like minorities, Glenn. I can get your apartment manager to testify to that. The neighbor that put up security cameras on her porch because she swears you don't like Hispanic people would testify to that.
The staff at Halfin's apartment complex made statements to the police that Halfin has previously referred to minorities with derogatory slang. Of course, this is hearsay, and it's not very useful in prosecuting a case against Halfin. What is more useful, though, is that another neighbor of Halfin's felt so threatened by Halfin that she installed on her balcony surveillance cameras pointing at Halfin's residence. Unfortunately, she must have decided that the bargain bin at the Piggly Wiggly was the best place for this purchase, and the CCTV footage that would otherwise have been undeniable evidence of Halfin tying a baby doll to a noose and throwing it onto Dante's balcony is as grainy as video footage of Bigfoot. Halfin again ekes out a win due to dumb luck.
Dante would testify that you don't like him simply because he's black.
Well,
that's 3 people that I don't know from Adam that will all tell me that you don't like minorities, Glenn.
Well, and I'm telling you that's not true. That's not the fact at all.
I thought long and hard about whether I should make a comment here because it seems like whenever I make any comment that even touches on race, I get lots of negative comments. And it's on both sides too. Apparently I'm a racist and I'm a libtard at the same time. So I don't really care anymore. I'm just going to say what I want to say. You can yell at me in the comment section below if you want. I won't delete your comments. I don't censor any comments outside of outright spam. Here's what I want to say here. I just wanted to point out that Halfin is claiming not to be racist despite 3 different groups of people around him claiming otherwise. And while in general I think we should take people at their word for things like this and ignore those who attempt to put words in others' mouths, I still want to remind the listeners that Halfin previously worked as an EMT and a firefighter, jobs that directly save or cost lives, depending on the quality of service. So if Halfin really is racist, can we really say that the quality of care he gave to his EMT patients is equal? Do we really want a firefighter who might not try as hard to save the life of a person of a different race? The most progressive of people seem to spend countless hours on social media discussing whether so-and-so celebrity is a covert bigot, yet they don't seem to give a second thought as to whether the system supplying society with life-saving services can filter out those giving discriminating quality of service. I'd rather live in a society full of racist talking heads than one full of racist doctors. By the way, this is no means by any sort of to say like, hey, we need some sort of woke criteria for potential doctors. Don't go hyperbolic on me here. PSA over, back to the interrogation.
I mean, I work with minorities all the time. I have friends who are minorities, and all of a sudden you're telling me I don't like them?
No, I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you your neighbors, your apartment manager, people that are around you on a daily basis say there have been numerous times to where you have made it clear that you don't like them simply because of the way they look. That's not me telling you that.
How do I go about doing that?
Well, you're under arrest for tying nooses to baby dolls.
I don't like your haircut.
Okay.
So, I don't like you.
Well, let me put this as simply as I can. It is my belief, and I have the probable cause to support it, that you don't like Dante for how many reasons I don't know. One of which is he was black, and in turn, to show that racist belief, you took to tying nooses around baby dolls. Is what my probable cause says that you did.
And that's called stalking?
It's definitely under the stalking statute.
Okay. Well, I mean,
because you did it more than one time.
This is definitely at Walmart. I shop there a lot, and I do have a shopper's cart that I use a lot.
But the baby doll that you were shown by Sergeant Schimlo, you've never bought one of those?
No.
Never in your life?
No.
Okay. So the video that I have of you checking out on the 19th, buying a baby doll, that is identical to the one that was used that night. I can tell you what else you bought because I took hours going through the receipts. There's your receipt with the gift card number and the baby doll on it with beer, cat food, bird food. This is your receipt, Glenn. And the doll is on there for $2.88. Again, I'm not making this up. That's not what I do. If you want to tell me what you were thinking, what was going down, why you did what you did, we can talk. But if you're going to sit here and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about when I'm showing you a receipt, I'm showing you pictures, I'm showing you that I have the video, and I'm telling you I've searched your apartment and recovered even more evidence that support what I'm telling you happened. If you're not willing to have an honest conversation with me, then I can't help you. I'm not the detective that's going to come down here and tell you the sky is purple when we both know it's blue. Okay? That's just not the way I work. He'll vouch for that. I say what I mean and I mean what I say. I'm telling you I have enough evidence to tell you I know for a fact what you've done. But if you don't want to have the same honest conversation with me, I can't do anything for you. That's as simply as I can put it. I can answer the basic questions at this point. Why you're here, what your bond is, what to expect moving forward. If you want to talk about why it is you're under arrest, we need to be honest with one another.
Go on.
Well, this is where you need to talk. You see what I got. Nobody in this room believes that I'm making this up. Even you. You know what I got.
You got my glasses?
No, no. I can sit there and read it to you or have him read it to you.
Yeah.
Here, I'll read. It's just a couple of days ago. I'll read everything you bought. Wild bird food, miscellaneous doll, $2.88. Dry cat food, a litter box, bread, smoked turkey, smoked turkey, smoked turkey, smoked turkey, some kind of pet water, a case of Miller Lite, which you still had on your kitchen table, skim milk, skim milk, skim milk, and then something called Banquet that was $2.34.
At this point in the interrogation, everyone should be on Halfin's side, as we have just learned from his shopping list that he is a man of class. And how does the detective not know of Banquet? The optimal way to bulk up when you're trying to build muscle and save money at the same time. A very difficult task, by the way. Also, all that smoked turkey and milk point to Halfin being deep in a bulking cycle. He might look fat, but now we know he's just in bear mode. And once he starts his cut cycle, he'll be solid, thick, and tight. Straight back into calendar firefighter mode. And come on, did the detective really need to read each individual smoked turkey and milk purchase? What's he trying to imply here? Is he trying to subtly say Halfin's fat as a way to get back at Halfin for the bad haircut comment? On a more serious note, though, the detective has pretty much just thrown out all he has on Halfin's connection to the doll. This is a shock and awe approach, and it isn't really working, as Halfin hasn't admitted to those purchases, despite many of the items on that list being found in Halfin's house. And the police, they also employed 2 different methods of fingerprint detection on the doll, but came up with nothing, leaving only one way to definitively link Halfin to the doll: an admission.
And at the bottom of this, 12/19/17 at 12/11 is when you, in fact, I wrote it down. You started checking out at 12:06 and you exited the building when this picture was taken at 12:12 p.m. on the 19th, which is just a few short hours before we had a baby doll tied at the bottom of the stairs where Dante or his wife or girlfriend had to walk by, which also happens to be right next to your apartment. And that's just this one time. So it's up to you. The ball's in your court. How do we want to talk? You want to explain yourself? Explain what you were thinking? I can't force you to. Going with the I don't know, I'm innocent, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't think that's going to benefit you. I would rather you say, I don't want to talk.
The detective's statement that denial is not benefiting the suspect and that not saying anything would be the preferred action is certainly a misstep on the detective's part. A good lawyer would be able to argue that the detective is making implications that constitute legal advice, which is one of the few things that police are not allowed to do after a suspect waives his Miranda rights. In this case, such a statement isn't a big loss for the police, as the interrogation thus far has provided the police with no new evidence. Even without the potential legal implications, a statement like this doesn't help the detectives, as even to a dumb suspect, it's a transparent statement. Essentially, the detective is saying, I don't like your current strategy because it's working in your favor. I would really appreciate it if you changed your strategy and stopped denying all my claims. Please incriminate yourself as soon as you can. One of the reasons I feel this is an interesting interrogation is that, on the surface level, Halfin seems absolutely guilty, and the police seem to have all the evidence they need to pin Halfin down. Yet, when you drill down to the details, the detective is actually playing a losing game, as the goal is to extract a confession, and Halfin, despite his seemingly low-level strategy of just saying no to every claim, really holds all the cards.
But I don't know what you're talking about. We're grown men in this room.
What are my options?
As far as talking?
Yeah, what is a...
At this point,
What is a stalking charge?
What do you mean, what is it?
Felony?
It is a felony. It's a third-degree felony. And there's one count as of now. There's one count in the arrest warrant. It is a felony of the third degree. But understand the severity of what your actions have been. This is 2017. You can't tie nooses around dogs and display them for a minority neighbor that you don't like to see. That's not acceptable. But I don't know what's going through your head. I don't know what would make you do that. I don't know what you were thinking. I'm curious, but I don't know.
Well, when can I see a judge?
Arraignment will be in the morning. You already have a bond set though. So, bond's been set. $10,000 bond on the arrest warrant.
So that equates to $1,000?
He would know better than how I work, how that works.
Yeah, you could get a hold of a bondsman. They charge you anywhere between 10 and 20%, okay? And they'll bond you out. So my recommendation for that is once we get done here, you get your phone call, have somebody on the outside contact the bondsman, because that bondsman will be able to explain exactly what they need from them.
I can't contact the bondsman.
You could try. Oh, by all means, you can. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just giving you my recommendation. That's
All right.
it.
Do you have my phone?
I believe Detective Mueller brought up your phone, and it's like we talked about earlier. All this stuff that was being brought up here was added to your property list, and it was in the process of being added when we came in here to start talking to you.
Something we need to talk about in the event that you do bond out. And
I can't be released on my own reconnaissance?
You need to bond. And because it's a holiday weekend, obviously I'm not going to be here all weekend. In the event that you bond out, are you aware of what a retaliation offense is?
Yeah.
If you were to get out and in any way communicate with Dante's girlfriend, Dante's child, and I catch wind of it.
Is that Dante's girlfriend or his sister?
I believe it's his girlfriend. Common law wife. But what I'm saying is, if you make any
Dante's got a chip on the side.
That's
I thought it was his sister.
That's not my concern.
Well, I'm just saying it.
What I'm trying to impress upon you is, you cannot go to him because of this arrest, because you've been investigated by the police department, and make threats, make accusations.
And I'm not about confronting him whatsoever.
Oh, I'm just
period. That's why
I like
went to
everything.
The department management and said this guy, and I believe now he's probably the one that's been throwing eggs on my Hummer.
You're worried about eggs being thrown on Hummers when you've been doing felonies to him.
Oh, so I see. It's okay to.
I'm not saying it's okay, but you're not going to justify your actions. He threw an egg, so I did this. That's not fair. That's not tit for tat.
Well, I don't have any reason to be upset with him personally. That's why I went to the apartment management and I said, "This is going on. I don't want to get into a conflict with him. I just soon say, good morning, good afternoon. Hey, how are you doing? Oh, by the way, I think this might be yours." And
But that's not what you did, Glenn. You didn't leave it at that. You did more than that.
says you.
Says the evidence.
Well, where's the evidence that says I went out there and tied that doll?
You have the rope in your apartment. The same rope. We found the same exact...
I have all kinds of rope in my apartment.
I agree. But the rope that was used to tie that doll would be all kinds of rope. You have the same rope. You're on camera buying the doll.
So it's against the law now to buy dolls, and it's against the law now to buy... Do what?
Thus far, this is the closest Halfin gets to admitting that he bought the doll. However, because his sentence is poorly constructed, it can be argued that he's speaking in the hypothetical. Moreover, the detective cuts Halfin off before he can finish his sentence, further reducing the possibility of Halfin's statement being seen as a confession of having bought the doll. Even the worst lawyer could say something like, Halfin was actually going to say, "Not," at the end of his sentence, before the detective cut him off. This detective should learn a little from Napoleon, who said, "Never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake."
Give us more credit than that. It's not just that you bought these items. The evidence is there.
Well, where are the cameras that are all around out there? That's what I've been told is, when I said something about this, that, the other going on, even people have come to me and said that, matter of fact, I had a note put on my door saying it was okay to have cameras on my porch.
It is okay to have cameras on your porch.
So,
I had video from neighbors of yours with cameras on their porches. I have a video with you on your camera, or the neighbor who had a camera has video of you behaving a certain way.
Behaving in a certain way. Well put on the part of the detective. This is a ploy to convince Halfin that the police have video evidence of Halfin committing illegal acts. The truth is that the video shows nothing in terms of evidence. Let me read to you the most exciting part of the incident report pertaining to the CCTV footage from across the street from Halfin's apartment. Halfin appears to walk out of his apartment toward the parking lot, walk next to Dante's girlfriend's car on its driver's side, and then proceed to his own red Hummer SUV, which was parked next to the victim's vehicle. After entering the red Hummer, Halfin is observed driving away from the parking lot. Exhilarating. After obtaining this useless footage, the detective decided to stake out Halfin's house for 15 hours to see firsthand if he could catch Halfin committing a crime. He saw no suspicious activity and instead proceeded with arresting Halfin and engaging in this interrogation with the hopes of obtaining a confession. The detective has gone all in with the confession play, but chose a wrong opponent, as Halfin is determined to deny his actions to the death, regardless of the evidence the police claim to have.
That's perfectly okay. I got the video.
No.
I'm not going to sit here. Your neighbor did have a camera up. I had a camera up. Heck, I've spent 30 hours in your parking lot the last couple of months.
Well, then you know who's out there doing it. But yet you're isolating me.
You think I just chose to pick on you? Why would I pick on you? You don't think I...
Because Dante...
I don't know Dante more than I know you. Dante's not going to tell me go pick on Glenn and I'm going to jump and go pick on Glenn.
Well...
Dante made a report because he's a victim. My job is to investigate the report that he made. Through that investigation, guess who I've determined did these offenses? You. That determination is based on evidence. The search warrant, judge signs based on evidence. Arrest warrants are based on evidence. You have to, in my opinion, I don't know what you're talking about. You can't sit here and deny that you didn't buy a doll when I'm telling you the evidence that I have shows you buying the doll. That's foolish.
And it's against the law to buy
I'm
dolls.
not saying it's against the law.
I mean, what?
Well, first of all, you lied about buying the doll to begin with.
I did.
You told Sergeant Simwell you'd never seen it before. You told me when we sat down. I don't know what you're talking about.
I've never seen that doll before.
I got you buying the exact same doll on camera.
And that's
the exact same clothing, same little doll hat. The same day, within a couple hours before, Glenn.
And I bought all kinds of gifts over the past months to have.
So you bought the doll. You acknowledge you bought the exact same doll on the same.
No.
So we're not making any progress. This is what I'm trying to say, Glenn. I don't have an interest in doing this. Okay?
That's your job.
Listening to you make up excuse after excuse to judge. You're grown. You either say I want to talk or I don't. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have an interest in that.
All right, I don't want to talk.
Okay. Are you clear what I mean by retaliation? Mm-hmm. You have no reason to talk to Dante. No reason to talk to anybody in that family. No reason to interact with them at all.
The only time I'm face to face with them is when I'm leaving or they're leaving at the same time.
Well,
our paths
I'm trying to do you the favor of letting you know.
I understand what retaliation means.
So you will know what will happen if something were to occur between you two. It will be a totally separate offense with a totally separate charge.
I do.
That I will investigate.
But I don't want him coming back, trumping something up, saying he did this and he did that.
He's got no interest in communicating with you. He wants to be as done with this as I'm sure you do at this point. I can assure you he has no interest in prolonging this, making up anything. He wants y'all's relationship to be over.
And I have no problem with us having a relationship to begin with. That's why I don't see why that you're coming to me with all this, saying you did this and you did that. What is the reason for doing that?
I told you. You don't like Dante because of the color of his skin. You don't like
And I don't like you because you have a beard. How does that sound? Does that hurt your feelings? That's not true.
You don't like Claudia because of the color of her skin.
Who is Claudia?
Go out to your apartment, hang a left. Last name is Zahn. That's the reason. So there's no misunderstanding.
So anybody that wants to can say, he doesn't like me because I'm a racist. Is it because I have a Make America Great Again hat?
You're not understanding. It's not simply he's saying I think he's racist. He made a report. I investigated it. There's evidence to support that you committed a crime against him. It's not just
against
it's
not just somebody. Who is him now?
It's not just somebody raising their hand saying I think Glenn's racist.
Who is him again?
The person who had a noose thrown on their porch made a case report.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the lady.
No.
Over there.
The noose, the noose around a baby doll's neck. Those are all threatening forms of intimidation. Nooses around necks and nooses on minorities' porches are the inferences because of their skin color or their ethnicity. That's why people do those particular actions. The symbolism of what was done is racial or has racial undertones going on.
Mm-hmm. I would have to agree with that. But now, how does that involve me?
Oh, I'm saying you're the one who did those things. Okay. The evidence shows you were the one who did those things as well.
I think you're wrong.
I can understand that. Do you have any other questions for me?
Yes, when can I get back to my life again? This is
Bond's been set.
Yeah,
We'll
once
let
we're
you
done
grab
with
some
this,
phone numbers.
Do what?
once we're done with this, we'll take you over there so you can get access to your phone, so you can write some numbers down, because that's what you needed.
And my glasses are there too?
Did you bring up glasses? I don't know.
I don't believe so.
If you don't have glasses, we could help you look through find the numbers that you need so you can make.
Well, I
phone
do
calls.
have glasses, but I didn't bring them with me.
I don't know if anybody's brought them up here for you. Okay, I didn't go through the property that was brought up here.
We have your keys, so if we didn't bring your glasses, you can have somebody come to the jail. We can give them your keys to go get your glasses.
I can have somebody come get them?
Your keys, yes. So, and then they can go get your glasses and then bring them back to you, yes.
So you all won't go get my glasses?
Not at this point, no. I have no legal authority to go in your apartment any longer. So there will be somebody that you have to give consent to go into your apartment.
All right, let's do it. I'm ready to get out of here.
Okay, we're done.
Okay. Can I get up?
Yeah, call in.
Thank you for your consideration of this Christmas. You as well.
Come on with me, Glenn. We're walking back there.
In terms of the actions of the involved players, this case certainly was not as interesting as the murder cases we usually look at. But it still had some nuanced details that made me want to cover it regardless. Let me explain. The first thing I really liked about this case is that the police had many chances to lie or craft their own evidence to put Halfin behind bars. They were always just one piece of evidence from having an open and shut case. Yet, they didn't engage in any illegal tactics, though they probably could have easily gotten away with it, benefiting the police department's statistics and individual officers' careers. Putting away a man hanging baby dolls from a noose as a way to threaten black neighbors would probably be paraded by the news stations for a day or so as proof that the police are, even though in a racially divided state like Texas, are upholding equal rights, which is certainly good for PR. The detective staking out Halfin's house could have lied about Halfin's actions. The fingerprint analysis, performed twice via different methods, because police were really convinced that they could get Halfin's fingerprints on the doll, came back negative both times, and were reported as negative both times, truthfully. In an era where trust in the police is waning, every case of this sort should help rebuild trust in the police. This case belongs to the Grapevine Police Department in Texas, by the way, in case you're looking for a good place to move to. Another thing I liked about this case was Halfin. I mean, he's clearly guilty from the perspective of common sense. Yet the concept of innocent until proven guilty prevailed in this case and led to Halfin ultimately avoiding a lengthy jail sentence. Well, not really. He won the interrogation game, and the prosecution could not make an argument for a stalking charge. He still went to jail for a lesser charge. Let me see. Let me check my notes here. Threatening someone's housing rights, which carries a maximum of 1 year in prison, which is nothing compared to the 10-year sentence that stalking comes with. You might not think such a result is a win for the justice system, but the truth is that this case had too much reasonable doubt and not enough hard evidence to merit putting Halfin in jail for 10 years. I think a good justice system errs in favor of giving criminals lighter sentences to save innocents from having to serve any sentence at all. And finally, I wonder whether the prison sentence was any benefit to society at all. I mean, perhaps putting Halfin behind bars for a year gave his neighbors some temporary sense of safety, maybe. But then I remember that in the American prison system, races are segmented. And I can only imagine a borderline racist being placed into a prison only gets more extreme in his racial views in such an environment. I can't help but suspect that Halfin went to prison kind of like a harmless bigot, but emerged with views that could actually be dangerous to those around him. It's also possible that Halfin wasn't lying when he claimed that he's not racist. Perhaps this really was just a feud between neighbors who happened to be different races. Maybe Halfin was simply lazy with his methods and decided to go the lowest possible road, which is, using physical appearance as a weapon of choice to make his neighbors feel uncomfortable. Ultimately, everyone's going to disagree on who to have sympathy for in this case. Was this the case of a retired firefighter and medic just trying to protect his humble abode from his new neighbors who were dumping dog feces on his property? Or was this the case of a young black couple just trying to raise a baby in peace in spite of a racist neighbor? Personally, my sympathy is reserved for Oscar Mayer, who lost their best customer for a year. Thanks for watching.